there. And hello, everybody. I'm super excited to welcome my friend, my coaching client, one of my coaching clients, and a member of this group, the private Facebook group, Authentic and Wholehearted Joy, Donna Dunaif. Is that how you say it? Is that
Yeah,
right?
that's pretty close. I say
Dunaif.
Dunaif. I,
Dunaif.
I,
Okay.
I have relatives who say Dunaif,
Dunaif.
um,
Okay, but you say
but
Dunaif.
I just always have
All right. Well, welcome,
Dunaif.
Donna.
Hi,
Yay!
everyone. Good morning.
We are here, and I'm going to just do a quick little intro to everybody so you can see who this wonderful person is. So, this is number 27. I can't believe it. Like, I've done so many podcasts now. It's exciting to me. And so, here we are. Isn't that a fabulous picture, everybody who's watching, of Donna? Woohoo! Love it. And I'll just tell you all a little bit about Donna. Donna is a human being exploring her growth edges in this lifetime. Her interests include spirituality and metaphysics, particularly involving astrology, tarot, and their help in making sense of each of our human lives and relationships. She even did my astrology reading, everybody. She loves music, particularly the broad Americana genre, and has been involved as a passionate amateur bluegrass musician since beginning to learn the banjo in 2010. Donna enjoys exploring all things musical as well as photography. According to Donna, she is mostly a city gal who also enjoys nature and all its creatures. And I am thrilled because that is a perfect segue into the topic, as everyone knows. It is the coexistence, joy, pain, and truth of it all. And I like to have a variety of guests on my podcast. You've all have seen a lot of coaching cohort friends, musical friends, family. And Donna is just another wonderful person in my life that I said, what a wonderful idea. We've been working on this in our coaching. And so talking about that duality of coexistence, that joy, that pain, the light, the darkness, and how we weave that and enjoy life and live life and survive life and thrive in life. So, Donna, when actually I'm going to ask you, say the word joy out loud.
Joy.
How did that feel? Where did it land for you?
Light and airy and fun and joyful.
Yay! That's what happens to me too. All right, say the word pain.
Pain.
Ooh, there was a deep sigh with that one.
Yeah. That brought up some resistance, some sadness,
Yeah, it's amazing
some
what people
fear.
fear. Yeah. I'm not going to inflict pain on you, I promise.
Oh, good. I'm not into that kind of thing, you know.
Yeah, let's
I'd
get that out
prefer
there.
M&Ms to the
M&Ms.
other thing.
Yeah, and again, there's no judgment on any of that. We just have our
That's
preferences.
right, just my
Right?
preference.
Yeah. So, when you listen, when you hear the topic, this coexistence, what comes up for you with this idea that, okay, you just said joy, you had some feelings, you just said pain, you had some feelings, and the fact that they can coexist?
Well, that fits really well with, how shall I phrase it? I guess what I would call my bigger picture philosophy and mode of living that I've been growing into for a number of years now. Um, I'm interested in metaphysics. I'm interested in, what is life? Are we here? Who are we?
Hmm.
And the phrase that comes to mind, and I don't know who actually spoke it first, but it goes, "We're spiritual beings having a human experience."
Hmm. Hmm.
So I personally, though I don't know, and it's not scientific, and it's not factual, and it's not provable in our human everyday reality, but I have a sense of openness, belief in reincarnation. I do suspect that we're here to learn things in each human lifetime.
Oh boy, and are
Uh,
we learning?
oh my gosh, are we
Well, some of
ever?
us, some of us are
Well,
learning.
individually and collectively,
Yeah.
and oh my gosh, that goes for the earth, it goes for all the nations, it goes for governments, and oh my gosh, are we ever in a learning experience now?
Mhm,
And that awareness has been what's gotten me through the past 4 years.
mhm, mhm,
When the 2016 election dust had settled, I had a bunch of feelings about it, and I sought out different metaphysical thinkers, astrologers, psychics, um, people who didn't seem crazy in my everyday reality, um, who had at least were able to give me some sense of reassurance that there is a bigger learning, there's a bigger story being played out in our current world events. And
mhm.
there's also a bigger story in each of our lives
Absolutely.
that
Absolutely.
may or may not be deeply connected with all that. So
Yeah. And
that's what I think about it.
what I hear you saying, but you didn't actually say the words, is that it's all temporary. So the pain, the dust settled after the election, and there were some things you reached out to understand better what was going on. But what got you really got through it was knowing that things were going to change again.
Right. And thank you for bringing me back to your question because I sort of went out on a metaphysical tangent there.
I love your
And
tangents, so it's okay.
they're fun.
Yeah.
An interesting ride on the comet. Um, but to come back to your question on a personal, individual level, it reminds me that pain is part of the learning and that sometimes painful feelings, experiences, etc., are part of our growth and part of our learning.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, ask me maybe 12 or 15 years ago if I would agree with that. I'm like, no, it sucks. I don't want to learn anymore.
same here, totally
You
same
know?
here.
And now I can totally see the value of things happening the way they have in my life and why I'm doing what I'm doing now. I've always been an upbeat, positive, giggly person. I had funny little nicknames, in high school and college, and yet, I could get to the very dark depths as well. And it was very hard to know and to accept that things were happening for a particular reason. And now I know that the trauma and experiences that I've had on the negative side have only led me to be a healer for other people who've experienced similar things and they're at a different stage. And so the fact that that pain, you know, I'll talk very bluntly, we talk about suicide being a permanent solution to a temporary problem. That's not judgment on people who end up doing that or anybody who's listening who's had family members who have taken their life. And those people are hurting and don't have the resources or tools to identify that pain is a temporary problem. Joy is also temporary, it comes and it goes. I had a beautiful relationship with my mom towards the end of her life, and she died early. And so there was deep grief, but there was deep grief because there was deep love and deep joy. So if we don't have one, I don't feel we can truly embrace the other. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Absolutely. And what just popped into my head was an earworm.
An earworm.
I often post musical earworms on my
Ah,
Facebook page, and Garth Brooks' song "The Dance" popped into my head.
mm,
Um, I don't know if I can remember the lyrics exactly. Uh, Something about that I didn't know the way it all would end, the way it all would go. Our life, something about a chance. I could have missed the pain, but then I'd had to miss the dance.
that's powerful. That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, it's an
Is he
amazing
the one that
song.
writes unanswered prayers also?
Yes, I think so. I'll have to double check
That
that. It's
concept is also something has thrown me into complete appreciation for the things that I thought I wanted that I didn't get, going, oh, Shoo, like certain people I might have dated.
Hmm. You and me both. You and me both. My phrase that goes with that experience is, "Wow, I think I just dodged a bullet."
Yeah. Yeah, in a lot of different ways. Like, leaving my school district, I could have kept battling and kept battling and kept battling to stay there. I was like, what's this? Why am I doing this to myself? And when I didn't, when I finally got my job the way I wanted it, I realized, but why would I want to work for them anyways? So I'm like, I'm out of here. So that process that took that time to really kind of explore was a gift because it gave me time to realize, oh, that's not what my life is supposed to be, you know?
I have to laugh again with that, having had those same experiences. And yet, I'm into all of this way out metaphysical stuff to a point, and yet I'm also this really earthbound kind of person who worries about material security and is into country music and such.
Yeah.
And I'm reminded of another piece of lyric from another country song that goes, "Thank God and Greyhound she's gone."
Oh my God, thank God and Greyhound.
So there we go with the dodging bullets and
Yeah. Thank God and Greyhound and no U-Haul.
yeah, no kidding.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you have generally, from what I've seen, a pretty upbeat personality. You know how to play, you know how to enjoy. Has this always been you?
No, I was, I would say, more shut down, more depressed, more pessimistic when I was young.
Mhm, mhm.
I'm a big time late bloomer in so many ways.
So
Uh,
how did you cultivate this part of you that's just so radiant?
Thank you. It means a lot to me that you see that. Boy, I don't know that it was always a fully conscious process. I would say that the seeds of it were planted a few decades ago when I was involved in some group setting personal growth experiences where I was first exposed to the idea that I create my own reality.
Mm,
And I hesitate a little bit to say that because I have heard that phrase used to communicate with others in a way that doesn't feel compassionate to me.
I agree.
And that's totally not what I mean. I guess what I'd say is that I have not fully consciously, but on some level, had that seed sprouting inside my being, my soul, my thoughts. And in some beautiful and mysterious way, it landed such that it's been opening me up in some ways. I'm still a pretty private person. This is a big stretch for me.
I know. I'm so honored that you're doing this.
Even I enjoy one-to-one and small group conversations. I'm not a big cocktail party person. And in fact, if you put me in a cocktail party, quote, kind of setting, unless it was a bunch of musicians or people I already really knew and liked, I'd be in the corner talking to the dog or the cat.
Yeah, that's how I feel. In fact, I used to when way back when I would have to have a glass of wine or something to be able to get somewhat social. And so now I can socialize, but you'll see me talking to one person or two people, and then I'll introduce them and I'll walk away and go find another corner to be in. So I totally hear you. I totally get that.
Yeah, yeah. And, even with my involvement with music, I get stage fright. I am not really a performer in terms of my comfort level.
Mm,
I've been participating in some open mics. Um, I'm most comfortable as a backup musician, which is why I love bluegrass jamming.
mm,
And I love the casualness and the egalitarian quality where it's the only genre of music I know of where people go to festivals of that genre as much to participate and play music with each other as they do to listen to the really wonderful, accomplished top flight performers and bands. And
yeah.
no disrespect to the professionals at all, but I like being involved with doing music.
Mhm.
And I'm not one of those super technically accomplished people. I have my strengths and I have my growing edges in music like everybody else. But that's where I'm most comfortable.
Mhm. And that
And
does bring you a lot of joy because I've watched you perform and I've watched you enjoy other people perform. And so I that would bring me to my next question, like what brings you joy? Like what makes you happy? What are the things that you do in your life that you've noticed really hit that core like, "Oh, this feels really nice."
obviously, music, playing music, growing in music. I took up bluegrass banjo a little over 10 years ago. And I won't say I'm self-taught because I certainly used materials, online by different teachers, but I had enough of a background that I was able to grow in my proficiency to a certain level where I could have fun with it and participate and amuse myself. So obviously music, I have actually enjoyed sharing that with people. I have had in the past few years a couple of folks take banjo lessons from me before COVID.
Oh,
Um, that kind of stuff. Anything creative. I'm a dabbler in photography. I haven't done as much of it recently, although the self-portrait you showed was created by me, of me, yesterday, embellished in Photoshop. Thank
yay.
God for the dynamic skin softener plug-in.
You look just like your photo, Donna. You're fine.
Um, anything creative, songwriting, it's something I do as a mode of self-expression. And it's really interesting. I was just talking with someone in a breakout room in Conscious Girlfriend the other day about things that were painful and maybe didn't work out exactly how I've wanted them to. And my comment was, but I got two great songs out of it.
That's right. Oh my God, I have so many songs that are terrible shit. And really good, powerful songs. And you have some fun songs too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You also,
Um,
I think I remember you sharing you like playing games and you like going outdoors. Yeah.
yeah, the structure of my coaching uh, practice with you has resulted in my going out for pretty much daily walks.
Love it.
The other last week, I guess it was, I set out on my walk and walked almost smack into a raccoon that was coming out of someone's backyard. So I stepped aside, let the raccoon pass, and
You're so polite.
well, it's a Libra thing, It's also a self-preservation thing. Raccoons can be kind of
Right.
aggressive if you challenge them too much. So,
That's a good thing you know that about those. And the Libra is you, the raccoon is the danger piece, right? Well, you weren't saying that the raccoon was a Libra, right?
no, I'm a Libra. I have no idea what the raccoon's sun sign was, and I wasn't about to ask.
No.
My animal communication skills are not quite as well developed as those of some other folks I know.
Yeah, yeah.
So, what brings me joy? Good conversations, one to one, small group. Um, this kind of, I'll affectionately call it growth junkie stuff,
Life
you
learner,
know,
junkie,
life
yeah.
learner. joy and fun. I have a an uncontrollable at times sense of humor. Sometimes things will strike me as funny, not always in the most appropriate sense. And
Oh,
I
I
want
know
to be
about that. But I
I want
have
to
a
be mindful of that. So, I don't minimize somebody else's
yeah,
true painful experience.
yeah,
But puns come to me.
yeah. Well, I know that when we've been in groups together and we've been using the side chat, and then we realize, oh shit, someone's sharing something very serious. We're and here we are laughing, laughing, laughing at each other or with each
Oops.
other. Yeah, uh-oh. So yeah, it's kind of
That's
hard sometimes being aware of our surroundings.
Yeah. Well, and those are those great times to turn your video off.
Yeah, like oops.
Yeah, because for better and for worse, honestly, I try to rein myself in on that, but I also have a lot of fun with that. So
Well, it's
I
that
want to
coexistence.
I want to protect the containers. I'll turn my video.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. Well, I am so delighted that we could have this conversation. The notion of, joy and pain, and then I add the word truth because, I think that the more honest we are about the feelings we're having, as long as we're not sitting in them as like taking up residence and having to start pay rent, the more truthful we are that I'm feeling this way and I'm feeling this way. I would use my other hand, but I've got my teacup and I don't want to spill it. So if I'm feeling, for example, I'll just use the example of my mom. If I'm feeling grief, about her passing and not being here, but I'm also reminded of her, like when you just laughed, I was reminded of her laugh and how joyful and silly she could be. Like I can be honest and open about this was what hurts, this is what feels good. And you know what? Today or right now, I'm going to choose this and I'm going to say, stage left. Let me remember the good things right now. And then there are moments where I'm like, I need to feel this for a few minutes or even an hour, and I'm noticing that the more and more I take them up to the same level and get honest about it and speak the truth about it, that the less I need this pain and the more I want the joy. And I think that when we're able to acknowledge their existence, it's easier to make a choice as opposed to just sitting here or being in joy and totally avoiding, negating, denying that we have any negative, challenging, painful feelings at all, because that can also cause an eruption, of any sorts. So,
True.
yeah, yeah. Well, very wonderful to have you here today. Thank you for stretching,
Thank
for
you. Thanks
honoring
for giving
me.
me the chance, and
Yeah,
very fun to be here. I hope this is joyful and informative to folks in our audience.
absolutely. I think it is. And I would ask, is there one thing that you do that you feel could be a helpful tool to someone who may be sitting further in the, maybe somebody's lost a family member, maybe somebody's having chronic pain, maybe someone is still not over the last 4 years, and not that they have to, grief doesn't have to just end. But is there a tip or a tool, an idea that's worked for you that you might want to share?
I think the gratitude practice is really valuable in that regard because that brings me back into myself and my own experience. And I think in our modern world, with all the news media outlets, with all the social media, with all the negativity and the fear that can be put out, it's easy to forget how much good there is
Yeah,
in the world.
yeah.
Um, I found a really fun YouTube channel with a woman who I've been following the channel. Is it okay if I share this?
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Okay, so the channel I believe is called My Left Ear, and
Yes. My
it's
left ear is half deaf,
by
right?
a woman named Carrie Freeman, Carrie Freeman, Freeman, on YouTube, My Left Ear. And she has some psychic and intuitive abilities.
Oh, cool.
And I find her just delightful. And she wrote a book called Good Evidence, I believe.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah,
And
that's right. We've talked about
we
her.
we had a discussion about that. And so I think of it for myself as evidence of good. And for me, gratitude can be that, because when I get in touch with something I'm grateful for,
Yep.
um, I'm grateful for the kind person I met at the supermarket, that kind of thing. And that helps me remember that there's an awful lot of good in the world, and that what's out there in the media, all the negative stuff, is far from the whole story. And uh, different metaphysical folks that I've encountered over the years have talked about this idea of frequency and wavelength. And
Mm.
so we can think of all the information that's out there in terms of like a radio frequency or a set of radio channels on the dial, and we have a choice as to what we tune into.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
so gratitude helps me tune into good evidence, so to speak. Thank you, Carrie Freeman.
Yes, absolutely. I'll make sure that I put the YouTube channel and her name in the comments so people can follow that. That yeah, that's absolutely, and it's really funny because I'm glad you brought up gratitude because every Thursday I have my podcast and I call Thursday Thankful Thursday. So
Mm,
it fit just perfectly, and I actually have a free gift for people who are listening and watching, which is a mini gratitude journal. So I will put that link there too for people to grab that, and I suggest people post it on your refrigerator, and so every day you can write down 3 gratitudes. And what you just did, Donna, was a great example of a specific gratitude, which actually enhances our ability to be happy. Rather than just saying my home, we might say certain things about like the warmth inside my home or that there's enough space for all of us in my home. And what you just said about meeting somebody nice at the grocery store, that's very specific. And just instead of saying people at the grocery store, right? And so I encourage everyone to pick up that, at least try it for a week, a gratitude practice of some sort. I think that's an excellent tool. So, all right. Well, we are going to say goodbye to our viewers and to our listeners. And tune in next week when we have another podcast on the topic of coexistence, joy, pain, and truth. Thank you, Donna Dunaif. And it was a pleasure. And we'll say goodbye to everybody. Bye,
thank you, Misha. Bye, y'all.
everybody.